So I'm Michael Pascoe. Yes, Terry and I do Pastor Brothers pretty easily, really. It's my privilege to welcome you here to this celebration of the life of Susan Margaret Pascoe. Let's make a promise, Sue. On behalf of everyone speaking today, on behalf of us all, it's also my duty to introduce the traditional custodians of this country, the Wabakal people, and their continuing connection to the land, the waters, and the community. We pay our respects to the people and elders past and present. In the Awabakal language, Lake Macquarie is Awaba, and Aurari is an Awabakal word for that which glistens or glitters, which of course is what Awaba did so very often in front of Terry and Sue's house, a place they love and respect so very much. We're starting this celebration, and just starting, here in this space, the Salvation Army Church, also dear to Sue, as the home of the South Lakes Bridge Club, where she taught beginners from the very beginning of the use of the space for the South Lakes Bridge Club. There may or may not be time for a quick hand for you just have to see how it goes. There was a great deal that was very dear to Sue. Our brother, Father Richard Pascoe, will lead us through the placing of key symbols of Sue's life. Brother.
Family. We place this family photo as a sign of Sue's great love for the family and their great love for her. Yours, Pascoe. Bridge. Sue loved bridge, and she was very good at it. An excellent teacher, Sue especially loved introducing new players to the game. Charmaine Mills. Recipe collection. Sue loved cooking, creating new dishes, hosting lunches and dinners with no one's house and flair for entertaining. Catherine Woodham. Literature. Sue was an avid reader. The quest for knowledge and insight was one aspect of the various social book clubs, which often involved discussions about a book. Science and nature. A clever biologist and geographer, Sue believed in the powers of science. She also had a great respect for nature, her garden, the sanctuary. Craft. Sue enjoyed making things. Sewing, knitting, crochet was part of her life and amplified when she could pass these skills to her children and grandchildren.
Sue also, of course, had a very great love and care for her grandchildren, Elizabeth and Margaret. Elizabeth has prepared the first of today's eulogies. Elizabeth.
We are here today to honour the life of Sue Pascoe for her compassion and generosity towards others. As her granddaughter, I am so lucky to have had her as my grandmother for the past 8 years. And I think that one of her best qualities as a grandmother was her big warm hugs. She was funny, kind, and clever. Couldn't have asked for a better grandmother. She taught me how to bake yummy cakes, and she taught me about the wonders of the garden. She taught me about potions. She taught me how to make potions and do science experiments. And she taught me how to play card. And she taught me how to play card games, but unfortunately we didn't get to bridge. I remember how we used to bake cakes together. After we had mixed in all the ingredients, she would always let me leave the bowl of ingredients. And when we baked cakes, she went to get hungry, she could guarantee. So, Granny Sue, with revealed spirit of lives, I want you to know that I love you. Love.
Susan. We met at the start of the university ball season 57 years ago, 1968. Around the world, 1968 was a year of social and civil upheaval. In Vietnam, the Tet Offensive, Paris riots, the assassination of Martin Luther King, the anti-war movement was surging. Soviet tanks rolled into Czechoslovakia. It was an exciting time to be young, to find and hear our voices, to fall in love, to feel wrong, should and could be fought, to feel outrage, to feel part of change. It was a privilege to be a part of that generation of awakening. And yes, youngsters, the music back then was the very best. It was even an exciting time to be in Queensland. The university briefing, it was a buzz with anti-war speakers, Vietnam March organisers, anti-conscription rallies. Joe Bajoki Peterson was Premier of Queensland and he had banned demonstrations. So there were demonstrations about the right to demonstrate. Sue was one of the demonstrators. Sue, blonde hair, little pigtails, yes, I can. Soft brown eyes, determined. Her mouth ready to smile, grimly said, as she was carried off the tram tracks by two Berlin policemen and held on with her. Her enthusiasm for exercising her democratic right was dampened a little bit when Mary, her mum, being aghast at this crowd of university students who had blocked the road and made her. Sorry for scaring the ladies. Hey, we were a good way short of revolutionaries. We each lived at home with our parents. It was Brisbane, not Paris. Yet, as we travelled in the communities that we were to become part of, and friendships, many friendships, the causes supported and the parties celebrated and the family formed, the belief and optimism of that cute little blonde on the Brisbane train was always there. It never faltered. We yearned for wider departures, the desire to explore. The first step out of home came when Sue landed a job teaching at Southport. And she had a flat on the Gold Coast. Wow, freedom! But we were still in Joe Peterson's Queensland. So we made dreams to escape. First to Adelaide, where we discovered jazz and wine and jazz. But we also discovered Flinders Ranges, the outback, wide spaces. Then Geelong, we discovered Melbourne and snowfields, the exotica of multicultural gastronomy. Contained in Lloydon Street was a big part of that, of course. We learned bridge, and Donald Muscott from Brown Brothers played at the French Congress in Gippsland. Drove Geelong, Brisbane overnight, fueled by hamburgers, Coca-Cola and cigarettes.
A very clear mental snapshot I carry, one of thousands, was Sue amongst a crowd in our Geelong townhouse where the cream carpets were covered with tarpaulins to guard against the spill involved in the Bacchus party. The Bacchus ball was Sue's and my first date at Queensland University, so putting on a Bacchus party in Geelong was quite a bit. Friendships, music, laughter, that's just the way it was. There was nothing you couldn't do and always something you could. Decided to marry. And we arranged a theatre, not a theatre, we arranged a wedding at the 12th Night Theatre restaurant in Brisbane where we had participated in a few workshops. What a hoot the wedding was. None of that honour and obey stuff. We reduced the vows to a few words. I love you. I want to share my life with you. And then Sydney, a home of our own, there were really a townhouse that came with a community of friendships, rekindled time and again over half a century of births, deaths, and life. Robelia joined Macquarie University where Sue commenced her second degree, her science degree, and she finished that off at Newcastle Uni. Ah yes, Newcastle. At that time, it was a dirty steel city with a few nice beaches. The CEO of a multinational computer company that I work for said, you don't have to go, you don't have to take the transfer to Newcastle, but it will be good for your career, young man. So we embraced the adventure and agreed that it's going to be for too long. But we was at Lake Macquarie. We rented a fine little farmhouse, blameless, on the edge of the lake. There was a pond with a picturesque weeping willow tree. Anne and Warren Daubney, friends from Sydney, brought up 2 white ducks to live on this pond. Well, Sue discovered a wide variety of ducks, different breeds, different colours, different characters. At one stage, we had 13 different pairs of ducks, which had to be let out as pairs so they could mate multiple. Ducks and geese. Chickens were a feature of our early years at Lakelands and would be repeated even as our children became teenagers. Emily and Lewis each had a duck, which they often carried down to the lake to have a swim in salt water, rise the stars. It happened many times. We had a boat for fishing and skiing and deep water swimming, lots of parties, lots of visitors. Michael and Judy had Lakelands. We taught nieces and nephews how to ski and never be afraid of sharks because we had banned them from our bay. We fell in love with a different lifestyle long before the term sea change or tree change was invented. And we fought hard to maintain and cultivate this lifestyle beside the lake. Sue was working part-time as a geography and science teacher while we moved our attention to bringing children into our lives to share our beautiful world. It didn't happen quickly, but gee, it was worth waiting for. Emily was born on a Friday and immediately enriched our lives. Lewis followed nearly 2 years later. and was the beginning of a wonderful, rich time. Well, God, we had so much pride, so much exhaustion, but gee, the exhilaration was fantastic. Sue devoted her greatest energies to the development of these two beautiful loved individuals. By the time the children were at school for a couple of years, and it wasn't all beer and skittles, Lewis came home on day one and said, "This is going to be a waste of my entire life." He went on to graduate, go to university, and so a couple of years, an opportunity came to soon work with Richard Fletcher at the University of Newcastle on the Men and Boys program as a research assistant. Sue excelled in that position and many other university roles, right up to her resignation, which I put in for her on Sunday, the 16th of March, when she retired from her position as placement officer for the Allied Health Students. Around Lake Macquarie worked the children's lives in sport, netball, rugby, soccer, skiing, community and family bridge filled our lives, our wonderful full lives. We built our own house on the lake, having decided to never leave. Every Easter was packed with family visitors, our extended Pascoe and Hill family. And Christmases were awash with people, either here by the lake or in Brisbane. And always conversation and cooking. Sue's gastronomic kitchen and conversation, and eating and drinking and conversation. Conversations encouraged, ideas shared and challenged, achievements applauded and celebrated, problems dealt with, a whole wide world of science, nature, politics, explored and held up to the light. And then Granny Sue, Elizabeth and Margaret, proving our lives were not already full, that there were other depths of love open to us. We all have our own memories of Sue, a multifaceted woman we know in common, but also individually. How she touched all of our lives, and each of our lives is special to each of us. Our nephew Seamus, for example, on the other side of the world, and unable to be here today, wrote how grateful he was for Sue's generosity, life lessons, and payoffs. I hold your home and the lake in a very special part of my heart, with Sue being a big part of this, he wrote. Sue, Sue. Sue, our beautiful children and grandchildren, the places we've been, the things we've done, the people we've met, the love we've shared continues. We said we wanted to grow old together. And we will, just that some of us will grow older. There's a Terry Pratchett paragraph we like that Michael included in his book that was partly about mortality. And I quote, "In the Ramtop village where they dance the real Morris dance, for example, they believe that no one is finally dead until the ripples they cause in the world die away. Until the clock he wound up winds down. Until the wine she made has finished its ferment. Until the crop they planted is harvested." Sue's ripples go on through all of us, go on for another 2 generations at least. The fine wine that was her life is still maturing. When we think of her in sunsets and sunrises and all the spaces in between, her life is running through us forever. We love you and we miss you. Blackbird singing in the dead of night. Oh, you break spoken to me free. Blackbird fly, blackbird into the light of the dark black night. To the light of the dark black. Slow to free. Blackbird fly, blackbird fly into the light of the dark black. Into the light. To the light of that night. So tonight, you're waiting for the song tonight. See, oh no.
The penultimate review as another fellow Richard Pascoe.
We cherish within our beings our special memories of Sue. May these special memories be an ongoing source of inspiration to us, enabling us to open our minds and hearts to the great gifts of life we have been given and are given in and through the gift of each other. Sue, may we continue our knowing of you in the depths of our hearts and minds, and may your spirit continue to influence us, to free us and to lead us, opening our eyes to the truth which we now embrace. Amen.
And our final reading is a poem.
A reading from the book of Winnie the Pooh. If ever there is a tomorrow when we are not together, there is something you must always remember. You are braver than you believe, stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. But the most important thing is, even if we are apart, I'll always be with you.
Thank you, Elizabeth and Margaret, for wisdom of A.A. Mills Christopher Holland. That includes our commemoration in the presence of Sue's body. If you knew Sue, the biologist, the scientist, you'll know how matter of fact she was about mortality. While she will always indeed be with us, she left us last week. It was her wish to be cremated, so we're leaving this wicker basket here now. Not permanently, it's your salvation arm. Don't want to worry any superstitious bridge players. Although you could do worse than a sex of inspiration on a trip back. Wink. Our celebration moves on to Sue and Terry's home at 5 Pavement Street, Arundel. Please join us there, the scene of so much celebration. Please park on the street, leaving the driveway free for those who might find the walk to the house a bit difficult. Never mind the problem later of having to move the Tirana to get to the Cortina so you can have the view in the Kingswood. Thank you. Our thanks to the Salvation Army for the use of this space, to the Newcastle Chamber Choir, and to everyone who has contributed to this celebration. This celebration continues. Time for a glass at a Rari. Thank you all for coming.